Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Building Blocks podcast. I am Matt Windley. If you are here listening to this or watching this, I am assuming that you have watched episode 1 of our new documentary, Breaking Barriers. If you haven't watched that yet, you are doing this out of order, but that's okay. You can come along for the journey anyway. We have a special interview with Chief Football writer at the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, Vince Rugari, coming up to discuss all things promotion and relegation in Australian football. But first, because this is a new podcast, of course, I'm going to explain to you, the viewer, the listener, what the hell it is that we are doing here. So the company that I work for, Bruce, is doing a documentary on a club climbing through the ranks of Australian football and attempting to promote themselves all the way into the A-League. It's essentially Australia's version of Welcome to Wrexham, except with a little bit of a twist, because obviously at the moment the A-League doesn't have promotion and relegation. We're going to try and do such a good job with this club that the powers that be have no choice but to at least consider changing the system one day down the track. The documentary, as you will have seen on YouTube, at least for the first couple of seasons, we're going to make that a little bit more mainstream. It's for everybody. It's including for my wife, who loves Drive to Survive. And I said to her one day a few months ago, if we get a hot player for this club, just like Charles Leclerc, will you be more interested in watching this documentary? So she said, yes, absolutely. So target audience there is everybody for that. Over here with this podcast, we are aiming it at the football nerds, and I include myself as one of those, right? So obviously we say this with the greatest of love and respect. And we're gonna then delve deeper into topics that get raised in each of the episodes. For this one, it's obviously, as I said off the top, promotion and relegation. So it's trying to cater to a bit of both in terms of audiences and whatnot. So we are going to have season 0 of what we're calling it, of our documentary, the Breaking Barriers documentary, 5 episodes, and once a week they will come out throughout the course of February to March 2026, depending on when you're watching or listening to this. Then off to the side, we will have for each of those episodes a podcast with a special guest, as I say, unpacking some of the themes that were discussed in that episode. Then throughout the course of the 2026 football season, we'll keep you up to date with what's going on with the club, which I can't reveal yet. We'll have an episode of this podcast once a month to, as you say, shine a bit of a light on what the club is doing, but also to have a special guest talk about issues in Australian football, big picture issues, not the nitty gritty. And then we'll move on to season 1 of the documentary, which will chart the 2026 season with this club. And that'll air on your platforms at the end of 2026. And then we go on and so forth. The reason I really wanted to speak to Vince for this podcast is because we heard a lot about, as I say, promotion and relegation and wanting to see this club rise through the ranks, where right now it's not 100% possible to do that. Vince wrote a really interesting article back in 2023 about a potential system for promotion and relegation in Australian football, whereby the A-League splits into 2. And we have what's called A1 and A2, promotion and relegation between both of those divisions. No relegation from A2 down to the semi-professional realms. We give every club the opportunity across the country to aspire to rise into that A-League ranks, but then protecting the professionalism. Anyway, we unpack a little bit of that, which I think is a fantastic system for promotion and relegation in Australian football. We go into the nitty-gritties of that and also just the pros and cons in general of promotion and relegation in Australian football, as well as a few other issues around the traps. And it'll just give you a little bit of an insight as to, I suppose, the bigger picture that this project is trying to take on and trying to have a conversation about over the coming months and years. Vince, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming to my house.
Yeah. Sorry. Vince, thanks for having us. As it's not raining finally in this fantastic Sydney day. Obviously, we are both passionate pro-Rel for Oz exponents.
Controversial thing to label me as, despite being true.
Yeah.
People will.
You've got to be really. It's like asking a woman her age. You can't. Yeah.
People are going to accuse you of covering for me, of fabricating the truth. Vince Rugari?
Yeah.
No.
So I want to get into some of that about where Australian football is at with regard to the pyramid, why we don't have it, why we might be able to have it, how we might be able to have it. But first and foremost, hopefully people have seen your beautiful mug on the first episode of the documentary. What do you think of the crazy idea of getting a club promoted up the Australian football pyramid and all the way into the A-League?
Notwithstanding the obvious problems that you can't literally do it right now, I think it's a good idea because no one's really tried to ever do that with a club, with possibly the sole exception of Avondale, and I don't know if they were actually trying to do it when they did it.
No.
But everyone loves a fairy tale. We're a little bit jealous here because we don't have the system, the structure, the tradition. So I like the idea and I hope it works. But there's a lot of reasons why it might not. But like, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
True.
I'm glad someone's having a go at it because if it works, happy days. If not, well, what's the loss, really?
No, exactly. I think that's a really important point. The way that we're going to try and do it with the club is that the club can be no worse off. So if it only gets as far as one promotion or no promotions, like we've had a go, we haven't put things in place that then blows up the structures of the club that then, falls off into the abyss. If it gets to NPL level, but doesn't get any further, like it's still set up for success long term, still has its community ethos in place, all that sort of stuff. Ultimately, at the end of the day, each club, I'm sure, goes out there to try and win on a Saturday or a Sunday, right?
That's my understanding.
Yes, hope most of the time.
There are a few exceptions, such as Southern Stars, and anyway.
Yeah, that's a different episode. But it's so this vision is just like, okay, but we just don't want that journey to end. We just want to keep winning and winning and winning, and then let's see where it ends up. I'll put you on the spot. We can come back to it in 10 years' time. Do you think this club will end up in the A-League? I don't care. I'm not going to get offended.
No.
You don't?
No.
Cool.
And it's them, not you.
No, I understand. Yeah. Excellent. That's fine. I love the honesty. We'll cut that up. Why do you think that there's such an affinity in Australia with the Wrexham story? Why do you think it's played so well down here?
2 reasons, and the main one is the star power.
Okay.
Not as many people would care if it wasn't Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack in the middle of it doing a zany thing.
Yeah.
Secondary reason, and a much smaller reason, is I think we all want what we don't have. And personally, whenever I play Football Manager, I'm always looking to take over a club, not at the top, but somewhere that I can get them promoted.
Correct.
During COVID, I took over Catania, my family's club, in the 3rd division of Italy, and turned them into I think we won 9 out of 10 Serie A titles after that. This was COVID, things were tough. I had to pass the time somehow. Haven't played it since, but that was one of my great saves.
Nice.
Anyway, then after that, I got bored of Catania. I went to Forest Green. They were in League 2.
Yeah.
Can't remember if we won the Prem or if I was just starting to. Anyway, we all like the idea. So I think that's why. I think it's the main reason, and people shouldn't get it twisted. I don't think. Nobody gives a shit unless it's Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack or Rob Mack or whatever he's calling himself this week.
Yeah.
At the top, and then because of that, people get drawn into the other thing. I think.
I'll come to it in one sec. Just make it about me. My FIFA career mode as a teenager was always Torquay United in League 2 and then moving its way up because we used to holiday down in a place near a place called Torquay growing up. There you go. Do you like the Wrexham story as much now as what you did in the past?
Yeah. I feel like most of me wants to be naturally cynical about it and be like, oh, look at these, what about this? Look at these dickheads, bloody, oh, it's all Hollywood and blah, 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 but what about blah? Anyway, when they came here for pre-season, I just thought more about it and spoke to the people involved and watched some of the show. It's kind of the best thing that can happen to a football club, to be honest, because everyone wants a rich owner to take over, but no one wants the baggage or to be involved in a multi-club network. Yeah. And these guys just are doing things right. Their money is not ill-gotten, unless you consider Hollywood a satanic cabal of etc., which, you may have that view. Yeah. But it's pretty good. It's honest. They look like they're doing the things that the town and the people want. Yeah. They're still them. I think it's great. I think anyone would want that sort of thing to happen to their club. Is it a little bit wanky? Yeah, maybe. But like, you know, I'm less concerned about that. Like it's, what, you'd turn that down just to stay in league, or in the National League, just so that you don't come off as wanky?
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. I just love the sports administration side of it, being on that side of the fence. Like I find myself checking their scores religiously on a
I follow
Sunday
them on
morning, all that
FOTMob.
sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if it'll be good for them to get promoted straight into the Prem. I think that's a big jump. But anyway, it'll be still it's interesting. It's an interesting watch.
Knocked off Forest in the Cup. That was nice.
Yeah,
Watched that. That was fantastic.
crazy.
So good.
I threw a broad brush over you right at the start, calling you a pro Rel for Oz advocate. What is your stance on the Australian football pyramid as it stands right now?
Love to have it, but we don't for sensible reasons. People put far too much importance on it in terms of it being one of the biggest problems in the game. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why people think that I'm anti it or whatever is because I don't think it would suddenly solve all the problems of the world like people seem to think it will in Australian soccer.
No, I don't think it would either.
And I also don't think we could implement it for the foreseeable future in a way that would do anything other than immense harm to the number of professional clubs we actually have.
Yeah.
Because if any team gets relegated, basically, and I don't care what people say, it's just the reality, they're going to lose sponsors, they're going to lose a lot of staff, fans, etc., and it's going to be really hard for that team to come back to professional level.
Yep.
We need to protect all. Pro-Rel is a problem which is is a solution to the problem of having too many professional clubs for a division.
Yeah. We don't have enough professional clubs for a division.
Yeah, we don't have the problem, we don't have the solution. Like, so there's no need to have the solution.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to have it, and there are obviously very good things that it would do if we had it. But until you have a reason to have it, you're then retrofitting a system into our backyard that, yes, would do some good things, but also would have some negative effects that outweigh the good things that it would do. People put too much stock, in my opinion, in the idea that if you made it possible for any team to reach the A-League right now, then suddenly, almost overnight, people would be like, oh, well, now we can do this. So let's be even better at everything.
Yeah.
Which dismisses the possibility that people who run soccer clubs at all levels right now are doing the best they absolutely can.
Yeah.
And just puts too much, it's almost dreamland areas, I think. It would not lead to some massive uplift in performance across the board. The incentive would have an effect, but not the transformative effect that I think a lot of people think it would have. People think it's the magic solution, and it's not.
It's not the magic solution to the game, but go on the positive side of things, you cynical bastard, because you still want to see it happen in some way, shape or form. Why do you want to see it happen in some way, shape or form? Not under the premise of it's going to solve Australian football, because I don't think it is.
Obviously it would create, jeopardy
Yeah.
at the end of the season for teams at the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah.
It would punish bad teams in a way that doesn't happen right now. And the incentives for clubs below and players in those levels below would obviously be greater.
I want to see pro-rel happen just as much as anybody, but I also don't think it's the solve to all the woes. That's
the other thing I was going to say as well is that people seem to think that if you have a theoretical system where anyone can play in the competition, that suddenly a whole bunch of people who are not engaged with it will be engaged with it. And with it, by it, I mean the A-League. Don't think that's the case. If you flicked the switch today and said, nearest club to me, FC, has the theoretical possibility of winning all their divisions and reaching the A-League, people involved in that club will watch the A-League the same amount as they currently do, which is probably not much, and that's not going to change that.
No, I think they will take a more of a passing interest though. Like if you,
they'll take more of a passing interest once they're close to it.
Yes, sorry. I think for those spurned NSL clubs, the one with the very noisy fans and stuff who have been
absolutely,
I think they will take more because it's obviously more tangible for them. Like they're obviously closer to the.
But it's worth remembering that none of these supporters of NSL clubs were clamouring for promotion relegation when they were in the NSL, and there was no way in.
No.
Overnight, it became a sort of, we want democratic access to football, etc., etc. And really, that's your self-interest talking, which is totally fair enough. But there was no push for this back when those clubs were in the top division and other clubs were locked out. Now there's other clubs in the top division and they're locked out, and that's the answer. And it may well be, but there's a long way to go to get to that place.
Yeah.
And I hope we get there, but I think any person who thinks we can rush or retrofit a solution to get there before the time is right will actually cause more damage than good.
Agree with that. Personally, any notion of having a promotion relegation system between what is currently the A-League and what is currently the Australian Championship, even if that moves to a full home and away season, it's not going to work. It'll do exactly what you're saying.
And also for the main reason that the seasons aren't aligned.
Yeah.
We're talking about a 6 to 8 week tournament that runs at the end of a winter calendar season.
Yeah.
So how do you promote them into a summer league?
Yeah.
What, they just keep playing?
Yeah.
No, that's not going to work.
But even let's call it a semi-professional second division that runs, I don't even care, summer, winter, doesn't matter. I still think that it throws up all the issues of what you're saying.
It definitely does.
Relegating from a professional club from professional competition into what is ostensibly a semi-professional
But what we're doing here is just demonstrating how many problems there are.
Correct.
And why anyone who's like, do it now, lives on another planet. I'd love to live on that planet. I want to go to that planet. I really want to visit it. It looks fantastic. We need to build a spaceship.
There is a model that can work. And I have spoken to you about it ad nauseum, and then you have written about it in the Sydney Morning Herald a few years ago. So for the uninitiated, I used to work at the APL. Long before that was obviously a journo, hence our relationship. Had the privilege of working quite a bit in Auckland, helping set up the A-League expansion franchise over there, and also doing a bit of work on a potential system that could work for promotion relegation in Australian football one day. A1, A2, basic premise. I believe, notwithstanding everything you've just said, and not saying for one second that it is going to change everything about Australian football and everything gets solved, I fundamentally believe that any club across the country that wants to aspire to make the A-League should be able to aspire to make the A-League and put a plan in place that sees them sustainably professionalise and then move towards a path of having a professional team attached to their club, enabling them to play in the A-League. What I think we should do is expand the A-League to, let's call it 20 teams for the ease of math. And we can expand the A-League to 20 teams via two methods. A bunch of new greenfield expansion sites. So we could bring back a Gold Coast team. I hazard a guess to say there'll be another Gold Coast team in the A-League at some point. There's obviously Canberra, the constant, will they, won't they. I think there should be a team in Christchurch. We can debate that, sure. And then also too, we can bring in the best of the existing clubs. Let's call it a South Melbourne, let's call it a Marconi, let's call it a Adelaide City, whatever. We get ourselves to 20 teams. And then we split the A-League into two and have A1 and A2. And you have promotion and relegation between A1 and A2. Obviously, A1 is playing for the A-League Championship, Asian Champions League spots, all that sort of stuff. A2 is playing for the right to be promoted into A2. But you never get relegated from A2 out of the A-Leagues. So you will always be an A-League club. You'll always be a professional club. You'll have your license protected, all that sort of stuff. You can have the same broadcast deal. You can even have funky things where you sort of keep the leagues connected in the early days. To become an A2 club, you must tick all the off-field boxes. Infrastructure, average crowds, social media following, dare I say, financial turnover, all those things that you need to demonstrate to make the powers that be really clear that you are going to bring value to the table at an A-League level and that you'll be sustainable and able to prop yourselves up. Once you've done all that and you want to come in, you get a tick like an associate license sort of provision, very similar to Japan. And then once you do what you need to do at the lower level, be that NPL or Australian Championship, you get promoted into the professional ranks, which is A1, A2, and you just then consistently keep expanding the number of teams in both A1 and A2 until the point where you get hopefully 16 teams in both, and hopefully we're one day having a conversation like Japan has had where they have too many teams for A1 and A2 and then you need to start thinking about A3. Yeah. I think the beauty of that plan is that it connects the pyramid. It removes that thing of, oh, you're not letting us in, like you're not letting us play in your game.
Also removes the risk.
Removes the risk. And then it can grow sustainably. So if we all of a sudden get 32 teams that are ready to go, like, great. Or if it takes us 32 years to get another 10 teams, well, so be it. Like, it will grow as fast as the ecosystem is ready for it to grow. You can still expand with greenfield if you need to, or expand with existing. You can expand with...
I think on that, by the way, it always depends on the place. Some places will suit a club coming up from the ranks that already exists.
Yes.
Other places, like Canberra, for instance,
Yeah.
needs a new team that
Yeah.
encompasses the whole city. 'Cause
Exactly.
you promote, or if one of the Canberra NPL teams gets promoted, they've got the issue of,
Yeah.
well, all the other teams hate us, so they're not going to get behind us.
Yeah.
But what you need is a city team.
Yeah.
Various locations will need that, others won't.
So this system enables that to transpire.
Yes.
Where you can have whatever you need.
I don't know why
suit.
they don't just say, yep, this is the rules now. We're announcing it. Nothing actually changes today. But in theory, if you can tick these boxes, you're in.
So for me, one of the big issues would be license fees.
Yeah, but they're not much of a thing like they used to be. They used to be like 20 mil plus whatever. Now, depending on who you believe, clubs exchange hands for anywhere between 1 to 5 mil.
Yeah.
Or even in the case of Perth Glory, a single dollar.
Yeah, correct. So my view on it would be, at the moment, you've got your A-League clubs who are shareholders in the APL. Attribute whatever value to that you wish. We won't get into that one. But I think there could be a model whereby you're buying your new license that has shareholding in the A-League at one value. Or if you're a South Melbourne, for example, who just has the divine right to play in the top Australian league and just wants to play, just wants the piece of paper, then they may only have to pay a small participation fee, whatever you want to call it. So you've got that two-tier sort of structure around entrance fees and what that... Now, as long as that doesn't lead to inequitable results on the field, it's more to do with the off-field and the shareholdings and all that sort of stuff. That would be my solution for that one. What do you think of that sort of structure?
It's great. I don't see what the problem is, to be honest. I don't know why we're waiting. Just say, this is what we're doing now. And that way, anyone who wants to build towards it can start. And then we'll deal with if they make it, when they make it. Just create an environment where ambition isn't limited, but also isn't automatic. You can't just win your comp and you're in.
Yeah.
You can win your comp, and if you get all the things right that you need to be a professional club, then you can get in.
This model also removes that winter-summer thing. The A-League can keep being summer while the rest of the comps keep being winter, because it's not a straight, I win my league in May and need to start in the new league in September. It might be like, I've ticked all the boxes and I win my league in what would be NPL season September.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to be implanting a professional team into your environment for
Like
the
9
following...
months later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got that time to prepare for it.
The only problem there is, what do those players who won promotion do?
Well, no, because realistically, their club would still continue on. They would still have like a reserve/under-23 team competing at NPL level.
True. But then halfway through the season, those players are going to have to go.
And I think that has to be the imperfect science for it.
Anyway.
There's not going to be a... If that is the thing that's going to hold it back, then let's go.
But I'm with you. It's good.
What would you do with the salary cap?
I'd get rid of it.
If they
Independent of this conversation anyway.
Right.
I don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to. Introduce some sort of luxury tax potentially, so that the big clubs can spend as much as they want and compete in Asia.
Yeah.
And then agree that by doing that, some of the prize money should be split with everyone.
I think in a world where there's any sort of form of promotion relegation, I think salary cap has to go. I don't mind it conceptually in a closed league, but I agree it's not doing what it's meant to do.
I think if you got rid of it, things wouldn't be that much different anyway. The economy's only so big in Australian football.
Yeah.
It's not like if you remove the salary cap today that all of a sudden Melbourne City's going to spend three times as much.
That's literally the argument that I use with everybody all the time. No way. They might spend 5% more than everybody else just to make sure that they can be 5% better.
And sub clubs might spend less than what we consider the floor at the moment, and if they can make it work, good on them.
Yeah.
As long as they're not paying less than the minimum wage or whatever is agreed to be the minimum conditions.
Correct.
You should be able to fill your squad of 23 players with 23 minimum wage players if you think that's going to bring you success.
Correct.
And if it doesn't, then you're a coach who gets sacked or whatever.
Yeah.
I would just get rid of those sort of guardrails.
And it's a freedom movement thing. It's not as if like the players have guns to their heads saying that you have to go and be part of that squad. If you think you can get a better offer elsewhere in the A-League or overseas, then go for it. There will be 23 players that will happily fill those spots on that squad.
Speaking my language, bro.
How would you treat finals in this circumstance?
Keep them. I don't even know how they come into this conversation, to be honest. Just like...
They probably don't come into the conversation in A1. Would you have finals in A2? if you're dealing
Or
with...
if you're crowning a league champion, yeah. Yeah, that's just what we do here.
Yep.
I don't see how it should be affected.
You could actually probably also have... Or you could have maybe like, A2, the winner, the premier, if you want to call it that, gets straight promotion. And then you've got your sort of Australia's version of the promotion playoffs that act as like finals to get, something like that. Yeah. What I also think it does is, so right now we are still stuck, I think. There were some really good things about the championship, the first version of it. There were some not so good things, but like by and large, I think it was a good addition to the calendar. But right now it's still, without it being a breeding ground, it's just an end of season knockabout. Regardless of whether that gets to a full home and away league or it stays as its end of season tournament, at least that competition can start to become an incubator.
Yeah.
Incubator.
And it sort of already is
clubs.
a little bit, I think. I think just being involved in it makes those clubs realise, we've got to do this better, or the foundation clubs have to lift their standards by a certain level, and the other ones who qualify just by exposure to that level might come away from it thinking, well, if we want to be a foundation club or a permanent member, we've got to get this, and this right. Are we far away? What do we need? Do we need more money? Do we need to do things completely differently? It's a good thing. My only worry about the championship is just sort of like, I think it's a big loss maker, or probably a big loss maker for FA. But FA has copped that in the spirit of thinking this is an investment in the game. And we need to change some of the thinking and get some of these NPL clubs to be more progressive with their operations, so that one day that will pay back the whole of the game, which I think is noble.
Some of the naysayers will say with...
Some of the naysayers will say nay.
Yes. I'm thinking of a lot of the different problems that this A1, A2 scenario has fixes for. Heaven forbid an Adelaide or a Perth or a Brisbane isn't in the top flight, and then we have a top flight football league that doesn't have representation in one of the major states.
Well, they're still in A2.
Correct.
And even if you could do like cross-division play. You could have A1 teams play everyone twice, and then once in the other division. They don't necessarily have to count for the championship.
No. I think they do. I think they can.
I don't care.
I think they can in the early days, while we're still getting to a point of maturity.
Yeah.
And understanding that the A2 is still a rigid competition in its own right, and it can stand on its own 2 feet. I absolutely think it can.
Yeah.
There used to be a model in New Zealand rugby. They used to have something similar.
Yeah, I don't mind. That's fine.
And that also protects the derby issue. Heaven forbid Sydney and Western Sydney are not in the same division. You'll still get at least one derby a year.
Great.
Awesome.
What are we waiting for? Why are we...
It costs too much to travel all across the country. We're a big country. It's too far. It's going to cost way too much.
Or is that you speaking in another person's voice?
Yeah, I'm being devil's advocate.
Well, yeah, but like, we don't have that problem yet. If you just announce today we're doing this, we'll deal with that problem once we have enough clubs for it to be a problem.
Yeah. So I'm a puppy dog, naive enthusiast, blue sky thinking. I am that adamant that a system like this will create so much more energy, vitality around the game. Unless you are the AFL in the southern states or the NRL in the northern states, you are a challenger sport and a challenger league, and you need to do something to be unique to stand up from the crowd. Football can be genuinely unique, and that means one of a kind, by having a system of promotion relegation that links our grassroots clubs to the professional. The AFL is never going to have that. The NRL is never going to have that. And so I think TV networks, I think sponsors will buy into that narrative, that jeopardy, that storytelling, that thing of, I'll pluck 2 clubs. Wellington and Newcastle playing at the bottom of the ladder in round 26 is just as interesting as the 2 teams fighting to make the finals. The storylines of having new teams coming up every year, new shirts, new stadiums, all that sort of stuff. Like, I think that will then exponentially grow the pie in terms of TV rights values, in terms of sponsorship values, all that sort of stuff, which then negates the additional cost that you're going to bring in by potentially having Perth Glory and Floreat Athena both flying across the country to play in a national league.
Maybe. I don't know if it's exponential, but like...
But I also think the flights, having done the modelling myself, the flights aren't as bad as what I think people think they are.
Maybe.
And you can also do clever fixturing as well, in terms of, we don't do enough in terms of, Perth going and having multiple games on the road at a time. And
yeah, we do have ground availability concerns though, especially for the big A-League clubs. I think it'll have an uplift. I don't think it'll be an enormous one. And I think the core thing that needs to be fixed for all of this to work is for general interest in Australian domestic football to go back to what it was.
Yeah, no, but this is what I'm saying. I think that this system will bring that interest level back.
I kind of think the A-League needs to do a bit of work first to bring some of it back, rather than hoping that this system will bring it all back.
No, that gets back to our original thing of this. A1, A2 is not an elixir to all the problems that Australian football and the A-League faces.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. There's active support. There's the role of state federations. There's the relationship between all the stakeholders.
The game's got to get healthy first before this thing can
Yes.
make it really fit.
Yes.
But then people will say, oh, you want to wait until people are always putting it off with Prowell and all that.
Yeah, SMFC Mike told me to ask you that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Speaking of SMFC Mike, I didn't meet. We can't have ethnic clubs. That's just terrible.
No, we can because
course we can.
because we have the other ones now.
Yes.
The ethnic clubs are only a problem when we had no alternatives.
Yeah.
Now we have alternatives.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the Ridgy-Dig vanilla franchise, etc. But like if you don't like Adelaide United, then go follow Adelaide City. That's fine.
Yeah.
The point is now that you have the choice, or
Yes.
that people who aren't aligned with a certain ethnic group can either choose to follow a team that is aligned with an ethnic group, or choose to follow a team that represents their city. Sweet. I don't think the ethnic clubs are a problem anymore because we have the A-League and the A-League clubs.
Agreed.
I do think, however, that any and all ethnic clubs and their supporters need to be really mindful of how political issues relating to those countries
Yeah.
affect the product overall.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to hear about who Alexander the Great,
Yeah.
where he comes from.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think about, all this stuff, Serbia, Croatia.
Yeah.
I'm not interested really in Balkans wars and the history of Yugoslavia and how it collapsed. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you have views against a certain ethnic group or whatever, keep them to yourself. Say them after the game.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Don't bring it into the stadium because the most important thing is the football.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be everyone needs to understand how important that is because one wrong move and you've got a really damaging set of headlines.
Yes.
That can set everyone back.
Yes.
So people would need to not indulge those inner fervours
Yeah.
to muck around in that way.
Yeah. I think
And
we're a
put the
different.
game first.
I think we're a different world than what we were in 2004 when the NSL disbanded. Clearly, advent of we're a smaller world in the sense of I think everyone's more accountable.
Yeah, but also no. There were things happening at NPL games last year, weren't there? There's always stuff on.
I don't think you're that accountable at NPL level because there's not the coverage or the cameras.
No, I mean there were a lot of people at the Australia Cup final with Sydney United and Macarthur who didn't get held accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they will have an argument that what we were doing was just honouring our homeland in the way that we see fit, and that might be true, and it's a really complex situation. All I'm saying is put the game first, and don't create a situation where anything can be misinterpreted
Yeah.
and cause a negative impact on the game.
Yeah.
There's a football competition.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
We're all here to make sure that more people are interested in football
100%.
because we all want Australia to win the World Cup one day.
Yeah.
How do we get there? Through doing all of this. But
Yeah.
we can't get there if people put themselves before the game.
Yeah. I just think we're the most multicultural society in the world. There is such a beauty to the multicultural element, and we can't celebrate or want to try and lean into the multicultural elements of the game to say that it's such a great sense of common ground and community and all that sort of stuff. But by the same token, also say, oh, well, nah, South Melbourne can't come in because you're a Greek club, or Adelaide City can't come in because you're an Italian club.
They can do what they want, but they should also be mindful as well that it might not be the smartest business decision to go as hard down that road.
No, I agree.
This is an aside of what you're saying.
Yes.
If I'm South Melbourne, you want to be a proud Greek club, but you also want to
make sure that
that's not
it's
all
a
you
broad
were.
church.
And to be honest, that's back in the day when they were winning titles under Ange, they weren't only that.
No, exactly. I think that's a common misconception. They were founded on British roots as well.
Yeah.
And
so this isn't a South Melbourne comment so much as more just everyone. If you're running a club, do the best thing for your club, not Adelaide City, for instance, brought back the Italian tricolour on their logo a couple of years ago. I'm not sure why, because everyone knows you're Italian. What's the point of reintroducing it? You can be a proud Italian club without doing that. I'm not saying it's going to turn people off necessarily, but I'm just like, you need to have a mindset that is about the future, not the past.
Yeah, but I think we can celebrate and lean. I don't think these clubs should be forced to forget their histories.
I'm not saying they should.
No, I know you're not.
What I'm saying is, if you're in charge of one of them,
you don't want to limit your audience.
Make wise decisions.
Yes, no, 100%.
And you can adequately balance these things, I think.
Yeah.
Without throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
What these clubs have that the A-League clubs can never have is a 30, 40, 50 year leg up when it comes to history. And I think that's, obviously one of the big things that A-League clubs potentially are grappling with and struggling with at the moment. You've got that first generation of fans that are probably sort of our age that sort of got swept up in the emotion of, active support and, being on the terraces and look at this great shiny product. And now we're all tired, have kids, less time, less disposable income. They're not coming to the game as much. And there's obviously been a myriad of other issues as well that just mean it's not passed through the generations yet. Like, you go and support Collingwood through thick and thin because my dad did and my grandfather did and my great-grandfather did, and likewise with Canterbury Bankstown and all that sort of stuff. So whereas, say what you want about the raw numbers, there are still people going to those South Melbourne games, those Melbourne Knights games, and the like, despite everything that sort of happened to those clubs over the course of the last 20, 30 years. That's a really strong backbone, I think, and a really strong foundation to build then a professional entity out of. And again, I've mentioned South Melbourne a lot. We're going to talk a lot more about the South Melbournes of the world in the podcast we do next week. But I think the way that people talk about them, in like soccer Twitter land and all that sort of stuff, is just like, people will love that they come in or they'll hate that they come in. But at least that's a feeling about something. I don't think a lot of people have a strong feeling about a lot of other A-League clubs, right?
Yeah, I think the first victory South Melbourne game will be like
the biggest game in A-League history.
Yeah, I don't know if,
No, I say that from a Victorian perspective.
I know, I'm just trying to think,
huge.
I don't know if it will instantly be bigger than the Sydney Derby, but it will definitely be bigger than what currently passes as the Melbourne Derby.
100%.
And I think anyone who's involved in Australian soccer will want to watch it.
I agree.
If not at the ground, then on TV. Like, I would fly to Melbourne for it, probably.
Small tangent. Is there what's the Sydney equivalent of that?
Of what?
So you just, off the top of your head, straight away were like, South Melbourne versus Victory would be absolutely friggin' massive.
There's not one. Because the NPL environment here isn't quite, it's not the same. There's not the fervent match-going culture here. Sydney's a lot harder to get around. And just Victoria's better in that sense. Like, I don't know who gets the biggest crowds here, but it's not much. I mean, I went to a RPA Marconi game last year. It's like 1,000, 1,500 people. It was all right, but it wasn't like what you see in NPL with Preston and South Melbourne and etc. There isn't one here. So
in all seriousness, is Victoria gonna, like, if we want to move towards this sort of A1, A2 sort of world, like, is Victoria going to ultimately lead the way at the start because they've got a little bit more of the critical mass of clubs that are sort of agitating for bigger change? And
maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. Who's to say that something like this wouldn't kick some asses into gear in Wollongong, for instance?
Yeah.
Or, the thing that's different about New South Wales and Southeast Queensland to an extent is there are some places in those areas where existing clubs could very well be a representative style club for that region. Like, I'm thinking about, like, west of Brisbane and Ipswich.
Yes.
You don't need to create an Ipswich club there, you just get the one that's there.
Yes.
Because there is mainly only one. Same with Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
Gold Coast, different story, bring back Gold Coast United. But, like, New South Wales, Wollongong's right there, boom. Maybe something in northwest Sydney, the Hills District, don't know. But definitely Victoria has a head start because the supporter culture is there at a level that leaves New South Wales for dead. And any other state, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think any other state comes close.
Yeah. In this world, are you still happy for New Zealand clubs to potentially come into the mix as well?
As in to be promoted in?
Yeah.
That's a whole
different conversation.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. But I think it's good to have New Zealand clubs in because Auckland FC have been massive. I agree with you that Christchurch could be decent. And look, having clubs from another country and confederation does make this all a bit messy, but like it is what it is.
Yeah.
I also do wonder how much longer the OFC Pro League is that a sustainable thing? and what I mean by that is, like, if I'm the OFC and if I'm FIFA and I'm trying to spend money in a way that will enhance Oceania football, would they not be better off having a professional club that plays week in, week out in the A-League? One or two, maybe? I don't know, just asking the question, but I just think like there's possibly, that's maybe a better solution to what they're trying to achieve than...
Sort of like a Moana Pacifica for A-League version.
Maybe. Or maybe whoever the best club in Oceania is that has the financials, be it in Fiji or whoever, I don't know. Maybe that could work. I don't know. But I'm just thinking I'm sure this OFC Pro League won't be making money either.
No.
And I'm thinking if the objective is for FIFA and the OFC to create better professional environments for Oceania footballers, maybe this was a way that they should have looked closer at. I know it was talked about in the early days of the A-League. Frank Lowy said that there was talk of an OFC combined, like a Pacific Islands team coming into the league. I think it was just something he said at a press conference because he was agreeing to something with the OFC at that time.
Right.
Maybe they could come in as well. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the future looks like?
Last one on it. When you wrote that story a couple of years ago about the potential of an A1, A2, what was the feedback like? Because I still see you refer to it sometimes on Twitter.
Yeah. I was good, I think. I think people were like, yeah, this makes sense. I don't know what I was expecting. It didn't, I probably thought it would make a bigger splash than what it did. But it ended up being just like, all right, well, this is a good plan.
Yeah, that's and then there's no controversy around it. Yeah, as you say.
And then the next day, everyone's like, oh, okay, moving on.
Yeah. I think that's...
It's a good plan that someone came up with and didn't enact.
Yeah.
Was basically it, yeah. And it was, look, I think for some people it was good to see that A-League clubs are thinking about it, even in remote terms.
Yeah.
Like they're not just in their own little A-League bubble, they are thinking about how they fit into the bigger picture. So that was good, I think. I don't know why we're still waiting. But then again, a lot has changed since then in the A-League world.
Yeah, a little bit has.
We've probably gone backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how the current administration, whether this is a even remote priority for them.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I think there's a lot of other different things going on at the moment. But that's not to say, but I think...
But there's something in it.
Yeah, and there's always a view of, if you're just... And I'm not saying this is what's happening, but if you're just thinking about how to survive till tomorrow, like, you're always going to have big problems. There hasn't been a lot of long-term thinking and long-term planning in Australian football.
Yeah.
You look at that, I know I refer to Japan a bit, but like the 100-year plan to get 100 professional clubs and win a World Cup within the century. And now look what they're at, about 60-odd professional clubs doing exceptionally well on the national stage. I think they beat Brazil a couple of months ago. It's not to say that the plan can't change, but I just imagine a bit of excitement in the Australian football industry if the powers that be came out with a plan to say, this is how we're going to get somewhere by 2035.
Be great. Then they'd have to be held accountable against it.
Yeah.
And there's your answer.
Yeah, very good. Rightio. Anything else? Thank you for your time, Vince.
No worries. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
So that was the chat with Vince Rugari from the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. You can obviously read about all of his exploits all over the Fairfax newspapers, and also you'll see him on various A-League TV shows on aleagues.com.au. And of course, he's the king of soccer Twitter, so you know where to find him in that regard. You can also, thanks to Football 360, read a bit more of an in-depth article about the nitty-gritties and the mechanics of that A1, A2 system that we spoke about in a special column that's been published on the Football 360 website now. So thank you very much for publishing that. Don't stress if you don't read it, because you're going to hear me bang on about this A1 and A2 concept quite a bit over the coming months and years. Episode 2 of the Breaking Barriers documentary is going to be released, depending on when you are watching this, on Wednesday, the 18th of February. And then the second episode of this podcast, Building Blocks, yes, we're using a lot of B's here, is going to be released soon after. The special guest for that one I'm really excited about. It's the president of a prominent NPL club, and we have some fantastic stuff to talk about. If you like the idea of this project in general, please share the doco around and this podcast. Tell your friends and family about it. We're obviously just trying to have a positive conversation about Australian football. We love it. We love the A-League. And we're only positive about where we think it can go in the future. This is what this concept is all about. So really thank you for joining this first episode, and we hope to see you again next week.